Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and back here with another review, and this time it is of, let's see if this shows up. Whatever. SAS Red Notice, or SAS Rise of the Black Swans. Why are there two titles? I'll let you know in just a second. This film came out in 2021. It's a Sky Cinema release, which it's a British film, so that makes sense. Starring Sam Heughan, Ruby Rose, Andy Serkis, Tom Hopper, Hannah John Kamen, Noel Clarke, Owain Yeoman, and Tom Wilkinson. Now this film. This is an action thriller, of course, where the main character, Tom Buckingham, played by Sam Heughan, he's an SAS operative, and he's after these people called the Black Swans. They're a terrorist organization that is run by Tom Wilkinson's character. And his daughter, Ruby Rose, and son, played by Owain Yeoman, basically are operatives in his whole operation. So basically you get the opening scene, and then most of the movie takes place on a train that gets taken over by Ruby Rose, and Tom has to save his girlfriend, played by Hannah John Kamen, and basically protect as many people on the train as he can while he tries to defuse the situation, along with help from Andy Serkis and Noel Clarke and Tom Hopper and all of them. So, I have seen this film a few times. First time I saw it was, I got it on iTunes, actually. Back when it was new, I paid the full price for it, which I almost never do. I did it because I was curious to see. Well, it was back when I was into the digital stuff more. I should go back to my digital stuff and watch more of the stuff that I have on digital. But yeah, I was intrigued by the premise. I was curious about Ruby Rose and Sam Heughan because I knew Sam Heughan was in Outlander. I'm guessing that's what most people watched this because of. But also Andy Serkis. He doesn't do a lot in the film. I'll get to that. But why does this film have two titles? So the original title, when it was released through Sky Cinema, as a I think it's a streaming thing, but it's also premium streaming, so $13 or something like that. But when it was released through there, it was released as SAS Red Notice, which is the name of the Andy McNabb book that this is based on. When it was released to Netflix and around the world, Netflix was making the film Red Notice with Gal Gadot, Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, and they thought people were too stupid to read the title and see that it's SAS Red Notice and not Red Notice, so they changed it to Rise of the Black Swans, which is a way more on-the-nose title. But yeah, this was the first big budget release for Sky Cinema. I don't know the exact budget. If I had to guess, I'd say it's around maybe 20 million, 30 million. That is bigger budget for Britain. Usually the only movies that they get that that budget or higher on are the Bond films for the most part, and technically the Harry Potter movies, even though those are American British co-productions, as are the Bond films. This is an entirely British production with mostly British and Australian actors, or British people playing Americans, which I'll get to that. But yeah, I've seen this film 3 times. First time I saw it was when I got it digitally. Second time was also the digital. I watched it again to give it a better review. And then now I'm actually doing it for a longer review. So what do I think of it this time? I think it's pretty great. As an action film. It's not subversive or anything. It's nothing new. But the action is fun. The story is actually pretty engaging to me, and I liked Sam Heughan as the leading man. So let me just get into the actors real quick. Sam Heughan does a great job as Tom Buckingham. He plays kind of a psychopathic character. He's in love with this girl, but he just doesn't know how to tell her. He doesn't know if it's love or what. And I thought that was a very interesting character for him to tackle, especially given his character Jamie on Outlander, which I haven't seen a lot of Outlander. I've seen the first season. I liked the first season, but it does get a bit long, the episodes after the first season. So yeah, maybe sometime. I'm just not big on TV shows. But yeah, I think he did a good job here. I bought him in the action. I bought him as this character, and I really liked how his character was resolved by the end. Ruby Rose as Grace Lewis, basically the front runner of the Black Swans. Ruby Rose is an actress. I don't hate her. I feel that there is something there. She's cute and can be scary. I don't know if she hit that here. I think she needs a specific type of director to bring it out of her. Because I feel like she could maybe do better in dramas than in action. Because the doorman that I saw was terrible, and it wasn't really her fault. Ryuhei Kitamura, I feel like the direction may have been taken away from him because it feels like not much of the film has his style. And Jean Reno was wasted. How dare you? And Vanquish, while I do think it's okay now, it's still nothing that special, and her character wasn't really anything special. So I think it's just she needs to choose better people to work with. Andy Serkis doesn't really get to do much as George Clements. There's like a double crossing thing, but like still not a lot with him. Tom Wilkinson as well. Tom Wilkinson and Ruby Rose are playing Americans. Ruby Rose's accent sounds pretty good. Tom Wilkinson's, it sounds good for the most part, but there's certain words where it feels like his very Britishness slips in. If you know who Tom Wilkinson is, you'll know that he's a very British man. So, he still did good for the bit he was in the film. Tom Hopper as Declan Smith, I like him. He was in Umbrella Academy. He was the kind of big dude in the first season. I don't know about the second season. I don't know anything about the other seasons. I chose to stop watching at the beginning of season 2 because of the annoying racial plot lines that they had to push in there. Hannah John Kamen as Dr. Sophie Hart. That's the girl that frickin' Tom Buckingham is in love with. She does fine. There are a couple scenes where what she's given to do is kind of annoying and doesn't really work. I will admit, if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a bit where she tells Tom, drop him. I like that line. I know a lot of people in their reviews didn't like that line, but I liked it. I thought it was interesting. Noel Clarke, he's kind of just there. I haven't seen much out of him. I know he's like a well-known actor in Britain. I just didn't know what much to say. And Owain Yauman is also kind of just there. I was hoping he'd get more to do. But yeah, all in all, I think the cast worked for what they had to do. Sam Heughan works for the film and what they need him for. Just about the plot. There are certain things that I think... I have not read the book myself. I don't read a lot of books. But I do know that some people who read the book were not a fan of this film. They thought that it rushed through certain plot lines. I can see that for certain plot lines. Certain plot lines did feel a bit tacked on. The whole prime minister being involved in the terrorism thing. These aren't really spoilers. The prime minister being involved, he's barely the character's barely in the film. Played by Ray Pentaki. Yeah, he's barely in the film. He's in the film like 2 scenes before the ending scene, and it's kind of just like, yeah, why have him in this? And if there's one big thing I can say against this film that really stops it from being like just perfect, great super fun action movie would be the length. It is 2 hours and it is 2 hours and 5 minutes, which is a bit long for a film of this type. I If they were trying to get deeper into the book, I'd understand. I think the film spends a bit too much on the initial attack against the Black Swans. I do think it does. And I feel like it tries too hard to help us make us sympathize with the Black Swans, especially given like Tom Wilkinson's character, the father of Ruby Rose, and Owain Yaman's character. He's constantly shitting on Owain Yaman's character, like he'll never be as good as you, and he'll always disappoint me. It's very heavy-handed. It's very over the top, and I just wasn't the biggest fan of that. I understood exactly where it was going, and nothing really happens with that character. He kind of just gets thrown away. Both Owain Yaman and Tom Wilkinson's characters. Other than that, other than them focusing way too much on the Black Swans, trying to humanize them and all that, which I think that is genuinely what they were trying to do. Maybe it's Andy McNabb's thing, I don't know. He's been considered the British Tom Clancy by people. I haven't read any Tom Clancy books. I've seen some Tom Clancy shows, or I've played some of the games. I've played Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, Advanced Warfighter as well. I played Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2 on PC. Ghost Recon 1. I played Splinter Cell. I've played quite a few of the Splinter Cell games. I think I've at least tried all of the Splinter Cell games. I loved Conviction and Blacklist. Double Agent I couldn't get into. I wasn't a fan of the gimmicks of the whole playing for whatever side thing. But yeah, just I am at least a bit into Tom Clancy. Oh yeah, Jack Ryan. The Jack Ryan movies. I do like I've liked everyone that I've seen. I've seen the first 3 Jack Ryan movies. But yeah, just I don't know what Andy McNabb's style is, but I'll just say I if he does try to make you feel for the villain or try to humanize the villain, not three-dimensionalize. It didn't really make them three-dimensional, and just humanize them as if we're supposed to feel bad for their situation, but you can't really have that in the same scene that you have the villains like gunning down villagers in like a small city. Like you can't, or a small village. You can't have that. It doesn't really work, especially for me. But yeah, just get to the pros. Sam Heughan, good job as the main lead. Ruby Rose isn't bad. This film has some very gorgeous cinematography. Let me find the cinematographer. Give him, yeah, Nick Matthews. Man, the cinematography in this makes up for a lot of like the moments where I maybe feel okay, maybe get back into the action. At least there's some really good lighting and cinematography that makes everything look really good, and it legitimately impressed me. I really liked how the film looked. The action, I'm glad that it's nice and bloody. I'm glad that they didn't feel like they needed to PG-13 it. Whenever people get into fistfights or in gunfights, it's nice and bloody. Yes, there's a lot of CG blood. That's kind of expected. This is... I hate to say it, but I think it's because this was filmed in Britain, they couldn't really use, like, blanks for the guns or something. But that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like they're using CG muzzle flashes. But for the most part, it didn't bother me or didn't take me out of the film. I think I like what they did with Sam Heughan's character and how he gets over the psychopathy, especially leading up to the end scene. I'm glad the action scenes and fight scenes weren't overly edited, like Olivia Megaton's films, or just like that early 2000s, mid 2000s type of editing where every action film ever was doing that, which was pretty annoying. But this film doesn't do that. If anything, I think some of the shots could have been tightened up a bit, or some of the edits could have been tightened up a bit. Uh, I do remember seeing a video from YouTuber Filmbrain, if anybody knows him, talking about how British people can't do action movies, and he mentioned this because it was a review of this film. I really don't understand what he means, because this film doesn't really cut super fast. If anything, it cuts a bit too slow at times. Um, but yeah, for the most part, it's a very enjoyable, uh, quite fun, at times a bit dark, not too dark that it gets not fun, but it's a very enjoyable action ride. Now the cons, of course, the humanization of Grace Lewis, William Lewis, the Black Swans. I wasn't a fan of that. There are some moments with the Black Swans that I really thought were kind of just not needed. There's a scene where Hannah John Camen's character, they find out that she's related to Tom Buckingham, and or to Sam Hewitt's character, and they ask the Asian girl that's working with the Black Swans to help her find it, and she says, "Stick to business only," and I'm like, "Oh God, what are they doing?" And she starts like frisking her, and then she feels her boobs, and then, in between her legs, and it's like, come on, this doesn't need to be in the fucking movie. I thought we were over this shit. It didn't like, it didn't make me annoyed. It didn't make me mad. It just made me a little annoyed. I was like, that doesn't need to be in the film. We have not even established that this character is a lesbian, and now she's just, oh, she's a lesbian and she's crazy. It just doesn't need to be there. I do wish Tom Wilkinson was in the film more. I understand why he wasn't, but same for Andy Serkis. I wish he was in the film more, because I really do like Andy Serkis, and I think he has a great voice. And yeah, I do think the pace should have been tightened up a bit. If this film was edited down to maybe an hour and 40 minutes, like, take out a lot of the supposed build up to the first like attack on the Black Swans, I do think this film would have had a nice and tighter pace. Especially take out the stuff with the Prime Minister. I think it was kind of unneeded. It kind of felt like they were just adding twist upon twist upon twist. Maybe that's in the book. I don't know. I'm reviewing this not as a book, as a film adaptation of a book. I'm reviewing this as a film. Well, so that's about it for cons. For the most part, I liked the film. I think it's fun. I think it didn't take itself too serious. It knew just the right moments to be a little funny or a little witty. I do think this film has some good British wit at many parts, and some good subtle British jokes. But yeah, I can kind of understand why some people wouldn't be into this, especially if you're not into action films. A lot of these people who shit on action films are clearly critics who don't like action, or they'll only like action movies when everybody else likes it, so they look like good guys. But yeah, that's about it. Not much else I could say. I thought the film was fun. If you want to watch it, it's on Netflix. It might be somewhere else, but that's all I know. It's on Netflix under the name SAS Rise of the Black Swan. Comment down below, like the video, subscribe, and movie reviewer next door out.